My name is Sergeant First Class Matthew Beam, and I am currently a Green Beret here in North Carolina. So after 2.5 years of fighting the Army's broken mental health system and serving well over 10 years in the SOCOM community, I found out today that I am not being allowed to medically retire, and the commanding general is choosing to separate me from the Army, leaving myself and my family, especially my wife who has severe medical conditions, with no health insurance. So this started 2.5 years ago when I went and asked for mental health because I was incredibly depressed. I had suicidal ideations and I was planning on taking my own life. And since then, my command has falsified documents, ignored evidence that would exonerate me. They've falsified statements on behalf of my medical provider and made false statements to senators and congressmen. So I'm going to go over a little bit of evidence, I guess, if you will. Just so everybody can know the gist of what I have going on in my life. And following this video, if you can please share it with any congressman and senator you can think of, USASOC for Special Forces Command, SOCOM, anybody, so we can rectify this so the right things get done. So I'm going to start off by reading a memo that I wrote to both USASOC and the Special Warfare Center of Excellence Command. So starts off, recently several things have come to light since my chapter board convened in August. During that time, I was not able to have access to documents in my Inspector General investigation that contained key evidence in my case. After filing for these documents, which took nearly a year to get back, and almost 5 or 6 months after my chapter board, it came to my attention that I was improperly forced to take a urinalysis, which was for testosterone, which I will get into here in a minute. And also I had been fighting against where my command falsified a urinalysis as well, and I will show you all the legal documents and everything also. So the investigation contained information that would have made the urinalysis given to me by Bravo Company inadmissible under AR 15-6, paragraph 3-7, Delta 8 and 9. I was coerced in taking the urinalysis by the first sergeant. I was called down to Bravo Company, and I literally was like, hey, I'm not in this company anymore, because I had transferred about 2 weeks earlier up to HSC, up a battalion, and I was like, hey, can you even give me your urinalysis, because I'm not in this unit anymore. And I was told verbatim, yes, you are still on your books, which was an absolute lie. And then finishing the memo, it goes into the biggest reason why I'm asking to medically retire, so that my wife, who currently suffers from debilitating medical issues and all the underlying conditions, so that she can receive the proper care that she desperately needs. If we don't have medical insurance for her, she will suffer greatly, because during COVID, we were unable to get her to her provider to seek treatment that she needs, and she ended up in the ER. And another thing is, there's absolutely no way we can afford the well over $1,000 a month that her medications and treatments cost. And all of this got sent up to the command along with this. So this is a memo from my actual commander at the time, not my former command, who called me back down to give me the urinalysis. This memo serves the purpose of clarifying a misunderstanding with Sergeant First Class Beam in the unlawful urinalysis that was given by Bravo Company in January of 2020. Sergeant First Class Beam was under my command at the time, and I had no knowledge, and neither did I authorize this urinalysis. With Sergeant First Class Beam being under my command authority, by regulation, I have to provide justification and order the urinalysis as well as sign off on the sample before it's tested. None of the aforementioned process was completed by me. Although the above is true, the director of SUDC, as well as the SUDC medical review officer, as well as my doctor, deemed Sergeant First Class Beam's use allowable due to his medical condition, so no further action is needed. I am requesting the UA be thrown out with prejudice. This memo was completely ignored by command. I also have the date in which I was transferred out. It is both on my 15-6 paperwork, which is right here. It says Sergeant First Class Beam was reassigned to 4th Battalion 1st Special Warfare Training Group on 20 January. And that's after I had been there about a week. And it also says it on my ERB right here. And the date of the memorandum for record for the probable cause search, January 29th, when I was not in the unit anymore, the company. So I sent all of that up. I sent it to give it to legal, and I don't even know if legal actually passed it on to give it to both chains of command. I also had to deal with the same command falsifying urinalysis. They said my medical provider called and said I popped hot for testosterone while I was in SUDC, which would have made me a SUDC failure, which all of this was a complete lie. And I have here on the 15-6, right here, paperwork from the 15-6. It says the most substantial error was the mischaracterization of the results of Sergeant First Class Beam's blood test. I took a blood test for endocrinology to go up to Chapel Hill. That was it. And from the beginning, I've been open and honest about how depressed I was, where I was, my drug and alcohol abuse when I was using as a negative coping mechanism, because there's such a stigma in the SOF community and Army-wide where you just don't ask for mental help. And it goes down to where soldiers start self-medicating themselves and using it as negative coping mechanisms, and we begin to spiral out of control because it's, I hate to say it, but it's command roulette. You don't know if they're going to burn you, they're going to take care of you, do the right thing, and that's why a lot of us don't go ask for help. And the fact that, especially in the SOF community, you have the warrior mindset, and you do not want to seem weak, or you don't go ask for mental health because you'll sit there, and if you're in a command position, you get pulled. And a lot of times it's your guys that are keeping together, and you get stuck in an office job in a corner. Not to mention, if you're the patriarch of your family, it's embarrassing to show humility and be vulnerable. And so a lot of times people don't ask for help until something catastrophic happens. And I went to my command on my own. I wasn't in any trouble at all, and said, I am struggling. And then I've been going down this road for almost 2.5 years now. So so here's another part of the UA portion where the most substantial error was the mischaracterization of results Sergeant First Class Beam's blood test. They informed that Sergeant First Class Beam had a positive result for testosterone, and my doctor testified she did not report that at all. It was completely made up. And the first sergeant at the time, I talked to him about it because he basically used open door policy. He's like, hey, you can come talk to me about anything, no repercussions, nothing. And I would just go into his office and talk to him and stuff and just give him updates. And I was like, hey, this is going on. A few months before any of this happened, I started taking some testosterone because I knew my testosterone was just above 100. And I found out when I was down in Georgia for inpatient for mental health that it's one of the huge things that affects your mental health is low testosterone, depression, brain function, and a copious amount of other things. It's literally the jack of all trades that keeps your body going as a male. And so I tried for well over 3 years to try to get it through the Army prior to this. Constantly closed doors. You can pay for it out of pocket, which was, I mean, still against the rules, but it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And I couldn't afford any of that because of paying an enormous amount of legal fees for defending myself through this whole situation, and then which forced my family and I to eventually file for bankruptcy because all of our money was going to try to clear my name. So, and then I have again in the 15-6, the most substantive error was the mischaracterization of Sergeant First Class Beam's failed UA. And then when a command does a 15-6 and investigates itself, it's more than likely that they are going to try to cover it up and sweep it under the rug. They went on to say that it was a miscommunication error in with the first sergeant talking to my doctor. But how can a positive urinalysis, when you have to have there's all kinds of forms, I think 3822 that you need to have for a positive urinalysis, and I would have been a SUDSI failure. But I told them, hey, and I had stopped doing this like several months before. And it also goes on to say they shared the results of the blood test, and the determination of allowable use was concluded because I had a medical necessity for it, and I was open and honest and told SUDSI about it. And my command went and falsified in my GOMAR packet, falsified statements on behalf of my doctor again, saying that she did not disagree, or that she disagreed with that. And of course that was another lie that I put in there, and that she acknowledged that never happened. And obviously they didn't put that in the 15-6. So many things were left out of this hokey 15-6 that was done. It's unbelievable. And as I kept bringing up all this stuff, and it just fell on deaf ears. And so I was also denied mental health by my command, and they sat there and downplayed it. And when I did the 15-6, they told the investigating officer that I requested less intensive treatment, also a lie, and that I wasn't being isolated to sit in a room for a month because I was they didn't give me a job or anything because they wanted to allow me to go to my appointments, which is another lie, because I have right here my initial intake documents from my medical record. I pulled my medical records. Initial: service members being referred to behavioral health intensive outpatient program. So how are you going to say on the 15-6 investigation that I requested a less intensive program when it's in writing from my doctor's notes and my medical record? And another terrible thing is on the phone they said verbatim, that ship has sailed, maybe later on down the road we can talk about mental health. And there wasn't, and so command referred me to SUDSI, which the program they started didn't start till January, and this is in November. And so what did I do? I sat in a room for a month staring out a window when, quote unquote, I didn't have a job or I was sitting in that room because they're allowing me to go to appointments and whatnot, and the freedom to seek treatment. Then why not let me go to an intensive program? And they also stated this is a memo to the senior ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee from my command, where they twisted the optics and they made false statements throughout, just in hopes that this senator, senior ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Jim Imhoff, wouldn't dig any deeper and he would take it at face value. First off, it says nothing about mental health. It only talks about, there's one little sentence that says anything about mental health. The whole thing talks about only my drug and alcohol use to change the optics of everything. And it says, I checked into rehabilitation facility, inpatient alcohol and drug treatment program. Lie. All over this, it states that I went down there for mental health. I will even read my diagnosis from that mental health facility. Diagnosis, again, medical records. Diagnosis, major depressive disorder, recurrent without psychotic features, with alcohol and drug abuse. Again, changing the optics to make me look bad and cover for themselves. And they go on again in here. It says, at no time was Sergeant Beam punished for seeking mental health assistance. Command continually encouraged Sergeant Beam to seek behavioral health, attendance appointments, and recover from substance abuse. That's the only part in there where they said anything about behavioral health. And by time I went and asked for help, I hadn't done any drugs and alcohol for over 2 months. I needed mental health. And when I give all this to command, I'm like, hey, here is my my medical records that proves they lied and I'm not. Just ignore it. Completely blue, thrown to the wayside. So, but this is still all a really hard pill to swallow, because you keep seeing and hearing all this stuff where you got guys beating their wives, holding their kids at gunpoint, standoff with police, and they're being allowed to retire to quote unquote take care of their family. Guys, sergeant majors sliding into married dudes' wives' DMs with lewd pictures and comments. Guys getting DUIs, guys sexually assaulting subordinates, getting allowed to just letting them retire because so they can take care of their family. What about, like, what makes their family more important than my family? It's not. And then I'll hear that, well, they're close to 20 years and they can retire. Well, I can retire right now, medically, with 100% from the VA and 40% from the Army. And my family will be taken care of. And all I did was go seek mental health. And it's been roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And here's another medical record that I have from, I'll tell you how broken the system is. So this is my very first, this is my follow-up from my very first intake when I was self-referred. I took myself into all of this stuff, and then I was switched to command referred. So session with Sergeant First Class Beam showed frustrations with how his behavioral health care has been handled to this point. Service member states during this initial intake, this provider did not enroll him in BHOP program or set him up with a SUDC program. If I go to the doctor and said, hey, I'm struggling, suicidal ideations, all this stuff, I need help now, and you sit there and be like, well, I'm not gonna put you in any of these programs because I want to peel your onion. How, that is absolutely not the correct way. And that's one of the things that discourages people from asking for mental help and stuff. If I go in there and say I'm struggling, like, I shouldn't have to sit there and have a lady ask or tell me that, oh, I want to peel your onion. That's a no-go. Like, get me help now. If I'm saying I have suicidal ideations and stuff, get me help now. And it was just jumping through hoops, door slammed in my face, and I wasn't maliciously trying to use this testosterone to get big and jacked. I was literally using it because I was tired of suffering. I put myself out there, and I was humble, and I said, I need help. I'm struggling. And door closed. And at what point that you're struggling so much because you're trying to get help and people keep slamming doors in your face, are you not going to take matters in your own hands and attempt to self-medicate yourself? I was tired of struggling. I was tired of being in that hole. And I told the first sergeant at the time exactly what I told him. And he's like, yeah, no big deal, no issue. I'm just glad you're talking to me about it. And then 2 weeks later, after I've left the company, calls me down to piss test me about it, even though he knew it was allowable use, which he lied and tried to say that my provider didn't agree with it, and then coerced me into taking the urinalysis, and command completely disregarded it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. And if everybody can please share this, tag all the senators you can, congressmen you can, USASOC, Sergeant Major of the Army, to hopefully make this right. Because I've given so much back to this community the last 5, 6, 7 years. I've donated hundreds of hours of my own time, thousands of my own dollars. I've done fundraisers for mostly Green Berets, where I've been able to raise over $1 million for them or their families in needs. I've done fundraisers for people in JSOC, Ranger Regiment, Air Force, regular Army, the VA hospital. I take students in the SF qualification course out on my own time. I've spent hundreds of hours with students teaching them higher level of combat marksmanship so they get to their teams more prepared and stuff. And I like live and die and have given my heart and soul to this regiment, and I've never asked for anything else. Never asked for anything except to do the right thing and help me take care of my family. That's it. I've never asked anything. I've had nothing but phenomenal NCORs. Promote immediately, send to MLC immediately, get him back to the regiment. Like, I have been a great face for this regiment, and I've never asked for anything. And then I go ask for mental help, and my career gets crushed. And so I'm asking for everybody's help to get my message out, and hopefully things can get made right. So thank you for your time.